But first of all, the app, is it Git Bash or Git CMD? Which one are we connecting to?
Git Bash is a terminal on its own. So you can choose to use Git Bash if you want to, and you can use CMD also. So once you install Git, Git is available across, and then you can run it even from your IDE's terminal also. So you have all of these options. There are different tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yesterday I finished. I was following every process till when you were to the point where trying to when you did that code dot to link to connect your Git to your VS
Are you
Code.
on your PC? Do you want us to quickly take a look at what you?
Yes.
So,
Let me share my screen.
Hi, Henry. Good evening. Welcome.
Hello, sir.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Austin. Austin.
I didn't know this score was on mute.
You're welcome.
Evening, boss. I've just been going through your videos like since I hit a rock on the old GitHub thing.
Okay, so okay, that's good. In fact,
I've been able to this thing authorize connect my GitHub to my VS Code. But I got lost when I was trying to do that commit thing.
Is your full PC now that you're connecting to, you're kind of authenticating with GitHub. So VS Code is just one tool inside of your PC. So whatever use all right, but so we're about to unblock.
Who's sharing? Who's sharing?
Bliss is sharing. So
okay.
Ted is not been able to connect to his sharing. GitHub.
I think the point where I just got stuck was connecting the Git to the VS Code. I think every other thing was good up to that point. So.
Okay.
So I think
I wrote down the steps. Do you mind, Moyo, if I try to help?
Walking through, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Henry, that your notes. That was the reason I was saying I was going to call yesterday because I see you always write that every step. That your notes. That your notes.
No, so yesterday in particular, because this particular thing is something that I've always wanted to learn because there have been some trainings that I've done where the instructor would just say go to GitHub and download this and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly how they always get their code into GitHub, and I've had my GitHub account for some years now. All right, so let's see. Were you able to do the git config and you did your email and your username and all that good stuff?
Yes, everything is fine for me. It was at that point to connect. I think you did some. I saw him this code dot or so to connect.
Yes. So do code space dot space. Put a space in there first. Yeah. So that would launch VS Code.
Yeah.
However, I don't think you are in the right
directory.
Right. So that code dot that you did, it doesn't matter whether you are doing Terraform or you're doing whatever. It's just a shortcut to launch VS Code from command prompt.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Right. So if you go to your you were able to successfully clone your
yes, I did all that.
Okay, if you did that, then let me see what next I did.
So you mentioned I'm not in the right
CD, yeah, so do a CD to Terraform to the Terraform to whatever directory you cloned.
That's the first thing. Go to the directory you were working with. That's the first thing.
Why not use your command line since you're trying to open up? Anyways,
I just want to be sure.
So what did you call it? What did you name it?
Terraform.
Okay, yeah, just then do CD Terraform. No, remember one way you did yesterday, he did July Terraform or something.
So whatever you call the repository in GitHub, whatever you
okay,
use.
so now you are in that directory.
Let him do ls first. Let's see where you are.
So if you do ls dash lah,
hello,
do ls dash and do dash the lah, yes, exactly, lah, yes, yes.
This is git bash.
This is git bash, yes.
Okay.
This is git bash. So just do ls.
Saying ls is not even recognized.
Yeah. No, it's CMD. This is CMD. This is git CMD to not work. You have to open git bash as an administrator.
Oh.
Yeah. You see.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Then do a CD to Terraform. Perfect. Then I'll do ls-lah.
Okay.
Bingo. Now do code space dot.
Okay.
Voila.
Okay.
Just check that box first. Check that box.
Trust
never mind. But next time you can just check that box so that you trust it every time.
Okay.
I ran into similar issues like that, so I was struggling with it, watching other YouTube videos before I was able to figure it out. I think my issue was I didn't open as an.
You did not trust my videos. Okay.
No, I trust your videos, but I had like an issue which you didn't have that issue in your video, which was like I didn't open as an administrator, so I was just using the bash command and I was getting errors.
I think I didn't open as an administrator because I tried it in multiple. I did it in CMD. I did it in batch. I just the way it was, but I think my issue was I didn't open it in that administrator.
All right, that's it for Bliss. You've been unblocked.
Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. So I like that Henry is traditional like myself with notes. It actually saves you having to go back to the video, having to scour YouTube for solution. Yeah. You trace your step and then over.
I mean, there are some of your lessons that the steps are just so like the AWS section. The steps are just too much. I couldn't even just keep up with the notes. But like these ones that so I try to follow, and while I'm following, I'm trying to make sure I'm just typing it out.
So for those long ones, it would help you if you want to make probably a documentation, an online documentation. You can have that and share with people to go through. Yeah. All right. Austin, you said you've been able to fix the issue you were having, yeah?
I was talking on mute. I was able to fix the issue, but I later encountered an issue when you're trying to do that your first Git commit. So I just got lost. Like towards the ending part, around the last 20 minutes of the video, when you're doing the first project using the Git, that was where I got lost. So, but you said you're going to like revisit that stuff again.
Yes, it's part of the things that I would do for the first half of this class. I realized I actually rushed that workflow parts, and we'll go over it now. And they will be using it over and over again. So committing and but understanding that workflow is actually very, very important, because you're going to be using it over and over again. So I'll just quickly walk through that Git workflow.
Then another thing I have a question. Like, what happens if your your VS Code is not like showing you the normal color it's supposed to show you? I don't know if I can share my screen and show you what I'm trying to say.
So those color thing is usually from what's the name of these things that you have now?
Plugins.
Plugins. Is it plugins we call it? Oh my God.
Yes.
Extensions. Yeah.
Okay.
If you have the right extension, depending on what you're using, whatever, depending on code that you're writing, it would color code it appropriately. But again, that's just for aesthetics. It's not, as long as your code runs, that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So for Terraform, I think I mentioned that you can download the Terraform extension, the one from HashiCorp, and then the other one from, I think, Kulikova, what's the name of this guy? And that will give you, color coding and then IntelliSense autocomplete and all of those functionalities. Yeah. Again, the important part is that your code runs. Before the time of IDs, you have to write whatever it is you're writing in text editors, C++, Notepad++, before they also now introduced color code. Yeah. So you just have plain code, and as long as it runs here, again, that's the most important thing. Or is the extensions. If you have the right extension to code it well. For Terraform extension, the one by HashiCorp is fine. I think I mentioned this while we were installing Terraform. All right, guys. Taiwo, I hope you are following along and you've been able to practice all of these things. It's very, very important. Yeah, that you do these things. All right, cool. And you had no blockers. You ran well.
Now I'm working on my. I'm trying to create a new repository before us not much, so I will continue.
All right. Before you guys came, we were talking about Ateta's around, but we are in.
Sorry, Muyo, I have a quick question, please. So yesterday, when you were creating the passphrase, the SSH key.
Yeah.
You did not create a passphrase with it, right?
I didn't. That's just an extra security. So if you add a passphrase, again, if by the time you push, even though you have you've authenticated with your GitHub, that extra layer of security just require that before I use the SSH, key that you've provided, you can, it's just like a multi-factor authentication thing. Yeah. So
yeah. So because I noticed when you were pushing, you weren't getting that, you weren't having to enter your password. But for me, I was yeah.
So security wise, yeah, it's good practice. Yeah. The SSH is fine.
Okay.
Henry likes to dot his I's and cross his, make sure for those security.
Yeah, because security people will start asking you, why did you not protect this? Things like that.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. Welcome everybody once again to another week, another session. We are gradually rounding up Terraform, IAC is, and I want to believe we are taking the right step. We are moving, getting to understand all of the necessary features. Again, there are advanced things, but in the months, I think it's right that we have that right foundation. Yeah. Because if we start talking about everything, again, all of these technologies, they are quite broad, but with the right foundation, every other, all the advanced things, you see that you would understand them if you have to use it. Yeah. Yeah. So today we would be building on, what we started out with yesterday, learning to use Terraform. All that we've been doing, has been on our local machine, as a single engineer, but now we want to take it a step further and see how we can, collaborate using Terraform, and then be building on that. Today, okay, I came across this code by Richard Branson, and all of these entrepreneurs, they always fascinate me with their way of life anyways. So Richard Branson said that you don't learn to walk by following rules. Yeah. So in this space that we are in, there are so many rules. Well, would I say rules or conventions that you want to follow, else you're going to find yourself running in circles. But if you truly, want to satisfy, I don't know, I'm a very curious person. So I like to, if you tell me, don't touch this, if you just turn your back, I'll touch it and see what will happen. Yeah. So even though there are rules, but you want to still see what will happen if you don't follow those rules. Yeah. So I usually tell my teammates, yeah, especially when we have any stand up or any such, yeah, and I'll tell them so that we don't get bored. Let's try to break things. Try to do things out of the the normal, but do it on different on the dev or staging environment. Don't learn to fly on my production environment. When you're staging and dev, yeah, you can go ahead and if anything you read about something and then you want to try it out, please go ahead, because it is in the breaking that we learn how to do things both better, yeah, and then can also improve on what it is that we have done before. So we always learn by doing and by failing over. And if you follow all the rules, you probably will not fail as much as if you decide to break those rules. Yeah. Right. So welcome once again. Today's agenda is going to would have to be introducing us to a few things conceptually, new features again. Again, we are learning all of these things by using them as part of different projects. But before we jump into any other thing, I'll quickly do a recap of yesterday's session, which is version control. And the part I'll be touching on is just the workflow. Understanding that workflow is very, very important. See how, because it will help when you need to make changes and then commit it to both your local repository and then the remote repository. If you understand how these things are structured, it would actually save you, a lot. Yeah. So I'll quickly try to paint a picture of how that works, and then we'll move on to talking about state files and then its purpose. I mentioned state files, I think, during the introductory parts, but because of how important it is to what we're trying to accomplish now, working as part of a team, I'll be introducing us to it, and then we're going to both create a remote state file and also a log state table, because they work hand in hand. When you're working as part of a team, there are some challenges that may arise, especially when it comes to date consistency in your configuration. Yeah, so talk about state files and purpose, and then we're going to actually create one. All we've been doing now has been from our local machine, and then so we're trying to as part of all of this, I'll quickly talk about the structure of configuration files. We have just been creating all of our resources, our services, resources inside of one configuration file. So we'll quickly look at, how you can actually structure, your projects. And while we're doing that, I'll introduce us to variables also, because they all work together. You can structure you can modularize your projects and then use variables to kind of make it dynamic. So we introducing. So I hope we don't get overwhelmed with all of the constructs that we'll be learning, but you see that it's just building on the things that you already know. So I don't believe it's going to be too much. And this deploying an e-commerce is basically what we deployed. I think the last session in our the cloud module, I mentioned that we should save the image and all of those things. So we're going to, all of this construct that we'll be using today, we'll be using it to deploy this. Even if we don't, complete it today, the beauty of, IAC is that we can, whatever resource that we create, we can easily, destroy and then recreate them when we actually need to complete the session. So this is our agenda for today. Wherever it is that we get to, we would pick up from there. Yeah, so we are not getting into modules yet. The structure is, if you understand how to structure your configurations, and then we now want to talk about modules. Balumi has gone ahead and has been doing some reading. I like that. Yeah, so modules would come, in due time. Yeah, we'll talk about modules again. Would appreciate if it's still talking about manually understanding how your configuration is structured, and then see how you can take advantage of the automated way of doing it. But if you don't understand how your projects can be structured, how you can structure it, by the time you jump into modules now, I've seen tutorials where they just jump into talking about modules, and it gets confusing because especially when you now want to create your own custom module. Yeah, so you need to understand that layered approach first, and then when you learn about modules and then you are trying to create your own module, because you'll be creating custom modules, obviously, you won't rely on just the out-of-the-box modules that AWS. So we'll talk about modules again. We'll get to that bridge and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Yeah, so I'm going to quickly share my whiteboard to quickly depict this our Git workflow. Hopefully my Zoom will allow me open a new whiteboard. See, it keeps failing. I don't understand. Please, when you guys can see my whiteboard, please do let me know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So our Git workflows, yeah. The basics is what I want to quickly try to mention, that there are stages that Git uses a 3-tier kind of architecture. That's Git now, not GitHub. We'll talk about GitHub is a remote repository. So when I mention remote repository, GitHub should come to mind. There are quite a number of remote repository, but we are focusing on GitHub here. So I'll be using remote repository instead of just saying GitHub. So we can have so Git on our local machine now. Let's say we have our working directory. So all of this would just give me a minute. Using the mouse to try to draw can be very not fun. So we have working directory. This is when we open up our VS Code now. And then we have, okay, I'm just going to the 3 stages first. We have our stage, our staging area. I'm just going to staging area. And we have our local repository. You guys bear with me. I'm using shortcuts. Okay, so this is our local machine. I think I should have added space in here. So when we modify files in our working directory, yeah, we stage those files using the git add. We add those files here, and then we basically that's creates like a snapshot of all that we have done, and then it saves it in here. And then when we commit, on a git commit, we kind of take all of those files in the staging area and then stores them in our git repository. All right, so we have that. And what we did yesterday was this is our remote repo now. This is, say, our remote repo. I hope you guys can see my drawing. Remote repo. This is GitHub. This is depicting GitHub. Yeah, so all right, so we pulled clone. So we okay, yes, we cloned. Let's see. Let me depict this. Let me use pull for now because we'll be pulling and pushing a lot. And from our local repository, we can push. So all of these keywords that I'm adding here, add, commit, push, pull, these are things you would need to have, noted down because you'll be using them quite a lot. Again, you can also fetch to your local repository. This is not quite popular here, but fetch. Okay, so this is the collaboration workflow. This part here is your local, is on the developer's machine. Okay, the engineer's machine now. Let me say engineer's machine. Again, I think that's wrong because you can actually have this. Okay, for our case, let me just call it our machine. Yeah, so and all of this can represents like a directory now. You open up your directory. Yesterday we did a git clone. A git clone basically so git clone is what we used because we already had an existing remote repository. But if we did not have an existing repository, we have a git in it. So we want to start that workflow from our machine here. We have a directory, and then we want to make that directory a git directory. So we can create a directory and then we run a git in it. This would automatically set up these 3 stages. In that directory, we have the working directory, the stage, and then local repository. And then we can do a git add remote to kind of connect to a remote. But so this git clone that we did yesterday kind of created a directory for us. Yes, created a directory that we have that automatically represents these 3 stages. Yeah, so when we now make any change when we open when you do your code, like Henry explained, when you do your code dots, this will open up your IDE, by default to this working directory. So when you edit that file, and then you can now stage the changes, using the git add. If you have multiple files, you use a git add dot, or if it's just one file, you can add the name of that file directly. This will add the snapshots. Snapshot basically is the data structure of all of the different changes now that you've made to that particular file. Telling Git, okay, you can start tracking, all of these files, and then so when you now take all of those commits, you add a message, your commit message, and you can now save that also to your local repository. Yeah, so and then you can push to the remote repository when all of those things have been done. So if you understand this, yeah, you are actually on your way to pushing to GitHub from your local repository. Yeah. So again, I believe pictures actually do kind of paint, gives a detailed explanation, yeah, of what one needs to do. Yeah. So, but when we use it over and over again, all of these keywords would make sense. I hope this is good, guys. So we can move on from Git and then start talking about state files.
Question. So when you do a pull,
yes,
is that the same as cloning?
So for you, no, it's not the same. Clone is just
cloning the remote repo, right?
Freshly pulling all of the code into your local machine.
Directory.
But pulling is you already have that repository on your local machine. Now you're just fetching. I don't want to use fetch. I just pulling in whatever change. So say another contributor now has has pushed new code into your remote repository, and you don't have the copy of that, whatever new changes that's been made there. You do a pull to pull it to your working directory. Yeah.
Okay. So what's the command for pull? Is it git pull?
Git pull. Once you run a git pull, since you are already connected to that remote repository, it will pull. But okay, yes, if you want to pull from a specific branch now, you can specify the name of the branch. Yeah. So git pull is, yeah. All right. Are there any other questions? Because we are moving on. All right. So the next thing we will be talking about, I think, is states. Yes, the state file. Yeah, so states, I think I mentioned it was is a store kind of all the resources that Terraform kind of manages. Git pull, not really. Is yes, you can say you can use it to avoid merge conflicts. Yeah, so that you don't work on a file that has been worked on, and you don't have, yeah, you can't say that. But basically, if is so that you are up to date with what is in your remote repository. Yeah, that would avoid merge conflicts. Yeah, so yeah, that's actually correct. Yeah. All right, so our state file, is kind of is Terraform's store of all the resources that it manages, that it has created. I mentioned that Terraform, manages every resource. It sees every resource as an object, and it manages the life cycle of every resource that it provisions, from configuration to the decommissioning of all of that resource, because all of the states, as it is. Yeah. So and then we see that whenever we, when we run our Terraform apply for the first time on our local machine, a terraform.tf state file gets created. And if we look into that, this is a JSON formatted file, again, containing all of those information, all of those resource and then data objects. Yeah, and mostly it contains sensitive data. We've not created a database yet, else you'd see that all of your database password, and depending on the resource now that is being created, if there are sensitive information that should not be available to anybody, it stores all of those in that that state file. We're talking about remotes yet. In that state file. Yeah, so and when it's just one developer working on it, or one engineer now, one person, is fine. But now we are moving to working collaboratively. So I don't know if I can quickly, just give me a minute, please. To try to clean this and then depict something quickly. So I paint a picture of how that state file actually works. So say I, as an engineer here, I have been writing configuration files. We'll see that we can have, drawing is hard. You don't mind me. We have config files. Like I said, we can have multiple configuration files. We'll see that in a minute. We have config files. I run create CRUD operation on this config file. CRUD is create, read, update, and delete. Yeah, so when I run a Terraform apply, what this does is it reads this configuration file. It reads the configuration file, and then it would kind of create a Terraform. So if it's the first time to create a Terraform .cf state, basically a Terraform state file, cf state. It creates a Terraform.cf state file, and so it will create this, and I think it basically does and this is first time only. When this is run, it only creates this first time you run your apply, and subsequently it's just be updating that file. Yeah. So after this is created, obviously when you apply, whatever cloud provider you're using, in our case AWS, you have different resources that will be created. Also another create, read, update, and delete operation, is being done here. But how does this state file now, how is it useful to the resources that is being created? So when you run, when you edit this configuration file and then you run and apply again, what Terraform does is it would come to this TF state file, since it contains all of the resources, the cloud resources, that it has created. It would now map. There's kind of a map now between TF state file and our cloud provider. So it will check the state file, compare with what we have in our config. If it matches, if it matches, to tell you there's nothing new to create, because I've checked that yes, all of these resources have been, I have them created. But if there's any updates, it would go ahead and then recreate after checking with the TF state file. So what this means is that this state file is actually a very, very is an important file that you never even, is discouraged to even say you want to touch or edit that state file. Yeah, there are again features where yes, you may need to manipulate the state file, particularly if you need to maybe have Terraform manage an existing, set of resource. Again, I don't want us to go into that just yet because that will kind of introduce some kind of complexity. And if you want to move resource from one, project to another, and their command line, their commands that will actually use in doing that. Not like you go into the TF state file and then you would manually, even if you are a JSON guru, you still don't want to go in there, and because that would kind of confuse the Terraform engine. Yeah, because it's supposed to be the one writing to that state file. So if you go in there and kind of manipulate it, it would cause some confusion to the state file. Yeah. So now if you want to work as part of a team, yeah, say myself and Henry now we want to work on an architecture, yeah, and then we have divided the work. So okay, yes, I would handle the networking part. Henry would manage, creating the computes and then the database and what have you. How are we? If I create the resource now, the networking resource on my local machine, how is Henry able to add whatever he has done, to that same configuration, and so we can have we can achieve that architecture without having to, work on it on my end, and also bring all that I've done and what area has done together. Yeah. So that's what we want to kind of look at, how we can manage this state file, since it's actually the store of all of our resources. Yeah. So if we want to work on those two machines now, yeah. So we can merge all of this together, but because this contains sensitive information, we don't just want to start sharing it maybe through WhatsApp or Discord or what have you, because this is seen as sensitive, your whole sensitive information, so it should be seen and handled as sensitive. Yeah. So, but Terraform now provides what we call a remote state, where we can, instead of having, if we even think about it, having this on your local machine means if anything happens to your local machine, you kind of have lost that ability to manage all of those resources, except you want to go, into the console and then start managing all of those, and that defeats the whole purpose of, infrastructure as code. Yeah. So yes, so Terraform provides us what we call a remote state, where we can store all of where we can store this TF state file, in a remote storage, so it's available for collaboration. So I can work on my local machine, and then whatever change I make here is pushed to that remote state. It's probably sitting in a cloud machine, and so if another collaborator works, he also, whatever change he makes, it will be added. So we have a centralized location, for our Terraform state, and then we call I think all of this explanation would make more sense when we create this remote state. But I hope you guys kind of understand what that remote state is, and this TF state file, the importance of the TF state file and why we need to be able to have it stored in a remote location for us to be able to collaborate. Yeah. So I'm going to quickly jump into and also I think I mentioned this earlier that when if you're working on a project with multiple people and then you are taking advantage of your remote state, it's possible that two people can work on the same file, try to push or apply Terraform at the same time. Yeah, but Terraform also has a kind of supports locking. Yeah, so this would lock the state file when it's applying whatever change to the state file, and that will prevent anyone else from changing that state at the same time. Yeah, while one person is applying this change, the other person needs to wait until those changes have been written, and then may not see a message saying that it is locked, but your apply or whatever it is that you're doing would silently fail. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to bring up our configuration from yesterday. Yes, this was where we actually stopped yesterday. This was the where do I begin from now? I think there are some messages in the chat. Some monitoring chat and trying to state file contains information, meta information about the all of the objects that Terraform manages, all of the different resources that you have in your configuration file gets kind of information about them, the dependencies, when you have, so there are different reasons, or purpose for having state file. One, I said mapping to your cloud provider, that's the real world now, and also contains metadata, the mappings between the resources and how all of those resources kind of depend on each other. I mentioned also that the order in which you place your resources in the configuration file actually does not matter, and that's because Terraform, is smart enough to have inside of it the state file has manages how those different resources actually depend on each other. So even if you have to delete a resource, it knows how to delete them first. When we manually were creating our architecture, you realize that if you try to delete, say, an AIP now that is attached to a NAT gateway, you probably will not be able to delete it because the NAT gateway still exists. So same way Terraform manages dependencies amongst different resources. Yeah, and yeah. Okay, see. Stored points. Do we have a backup file? So I would say your backup, your state file, depend. What do you mean by backup? Is it backup of your configuration, or backup of your state file?
State file, backup the state file. Are you done? The state file.
That's why I said it's a very, very delicate file. That's the reason why the remote state exists, so that you have it stored, in a more secure location and not just on your local machine. If you decide, okay, yes, you want to make a copy of your of the state file, yeah, as backup, you will have to also consider whenever changes are being made to that state file. It means you have to, be backing up, every other time that you and that's still sitting on your local machine, or except you probably have an external drive, but it's still not kind of secure, and that still defeats having to collaborate. Yeah, so working using your state file locally, we are moving away from that now. If it's stored, in a backend state, in any of the different options now that Terraform makes available, in our case, we'll be using S3. We know that AWS gives us redundancy, or they give us an SLA of 99,999, for objects buckets in S3. So that is enough backup if you are rest assured that if you have your state file in S3 is both secure, and then you can have it whenever you want, because again, it's stored across multiple availability zones. So if you're talking about backing up of your local machine, again, there are different ways you can achieve of the state file on your local. Yeah, but we cannot collaborate using that. So I quickly will talk about where am I? Yes. Sorry guys, my mind is everywhere. I'm back here. Structuring our projects, the layout. So far we have just been putting all of our configuration inside of one file. And I mentioned that the name of your file, really can be anything. I think the first one we created was moyo.tf. As long as you have that .tf extension, that way Terraform is able to know that, yes, this contains resources that I can, I'm supposed to provision on, what have you. Yeah, and then we can actually, especially when you have kind of a robust architecture now, you want to break up your configuration into different configuration files for easy management. If you have hundreds of lines of code, and you need to, by the time you even start moving back and forth, especially when those resources are dependent on one another, it becomes kind of cumbersome to manage. So we can have multiple configuration files. We can structure our projects now to have multiple configuration files. And the way Terraform would handle this, just the same way it actually manages, how your different resources now, can be ordered anyway. So as long as you have those configuration file inside of this main directory, yeah, if you say I want to create an S3 bucket now, I can decide to create a file, call it s3.tf, yeah, in here, and decide to or trying to, okay, no, say I want to create, let me just remove this and look for a better example to depict this. Say I want to create a VPC and then a subnet also. I can decide I want to create a vpc.tf, create a subnet.tf, inside of this same, directory, the same project, directory. And when I run a Terraform in it, it would take all of it, to go through all of the different configuration files, and then it would see all of them as one file, and then it would create the different resources, as it deems fit. It is that's the engine is that smart. So and there are best practices when it comes to naming and structuring your projects. Now you can, again, there's no one best way of doing it. This would still come down to the individual, however you see, same fate. Yeah, but the goal is, if you're working as part of a team, you guys should have a convention on, okay, yes, we want to structure our projects to be, in this way, so that when any other person, any member of the team, looks at it, they are able to, easily manage the infrastructure, what have you. Yeah, so would be using this principle now for moving on. So I want us to quickly create a back end, a remote state. So how do we do that? First and foremost, I will, there are different ways of actually doing this, but I will create an S3 bucket that we're going to use. Like I said, there are, I don't know, I can't think of any other AWS service now that's I've not used any other AWS service, let me say now, for backend storage. It has always been the S3, and then this because of the different options that S3 offers. I don't know if there's any other service. I think I was trying to read through documentation, but it was just the S3 that's, HashiCorp actually was pointing for AWS, depending on the cloud provider now. I think in Azure, it uses the blob storage as the backend store. Yeah. Yes, DynamoDB, you use it for locking your S3. Your S3 is where you store the TF states. So DynamoDB works alongside, S3 to lock, where I talked about locking the state file from having multiple people write to it at the same time. So DynamoDB is what you use, a table in DynamoDB, and they kind of work together. DynamoDB itself does not store the state file. Yeah, so I will be creating a bucket just to do this. I could have created buckets, using my configuration also, but the way yeah, so I'll talk about that in a bit, but let me just create this. So I'm just going to call this, and I want to name it Terraform state. Let's call it remote state. Remote state. And I'm just going to enable bucket versioning. And this is so that you have different versions of your different of your configuration, for versioning. Yeah. So call this. Yeah. So also I will create a Dynamo DB table. Dynamo DB is a key value store, data store. So I'll be creating a table. You can name, it's NoSQL database. So I'm just going to call this Terraform. Again, naming is one of the hardest thing when it comes to programming, because your name has to be descriptive. You have to be intentional when you're naming things, so that when you come back after 2 days, after 6 months, you can, easily understand, oh, this particular object, this is why I named it, yes, so naming things, you would need to practice and practice to get this. So I'm just going to call this Terraform state lock, and partition ID for this has to be, again, this is one of the rules that you cannot break. If you don't use this partition key, as it is called, lock and a capital ID with a capital L, it's your state file now would not have that locking capability. Yeah, so this pulled out from the Ashicom documentations directly. They didn't really, state why it has to be this, but you must use this partition key as it is to make that that lock feature actually available. So I'm going to leave every other thing as default. It's just the table that is creating for us. And I'm going to create that table. It's the name of the table that actually matters. And then that's partition key, that's makes it usable by our S3 buckets. Yeah, so I should have just duplicated this. I'll need also that S3 name. All right, so back to our configuration. Now I will be creating a backend.cf file. I said we'll be breaking up our configuration into multiple files so that we can easily manage our configuration. We don't have just one single file, and then it gets really, really long. So I'm going to call this back and .cf. Right, and I'm going to quickly come to the AWS I could use my generative AI to do this, but I will do Terraform S3 backend states. Backend states. S3 backend. Marshall. Yeah.
So what we are trying to achieve here is the state file, right?
Yes, trying to So you know, all this while we have each time we run our configuration, Terraform always creates a TF state file. Let me see if I can bring up that last July IAC, called it. Yes, okay. The last project we worked on. Yes, so this we always have a Terraform state file gets created. Right now, there's nothing tracking because I've destroyed all of those. But we don't want to have this on our local machine, because if I have this on my local machine now and we're trying to work on the projects together, it means on my local machine, after I've written my configuration and I run a Terraform apply, all that I did now would be tracked on this TF file. And if another member of the team now wants to collaborate, add to this, they have to create everything all over again on their local machine. And so we'll have duplicates infrastructure. So we're looking for how we can have everybody work on their local machine and still have Terraform manage all of the infrastructure, in a central place. I can work, push all of the changes that I've done. I've also applied, gets, written to a state file that is stored remotely, like a single source of, so so let's close out of this now. I open this. Sorry, looking for. There's a Terraform block actually that we need. Yep. Okay, this is it. I'm just going to copy this. So the backend is using an S3 bucket, and then the bucket name, I would need to get the name of my bucket. Call this mobile. And the key, so we can actually have state files for different environments, have them managed. So I can just call this mobile app. This will create a directory inside of this bucket, and then the name of the file will be called, name of the state file now would now be called whatever it is that you call it in here. TF states. Yeah, I think this is fine, or whatever it is that you want to call it. So the region, I think, was created in US East 2. You can encrypt it. This would encrypt your state file, and this is one of the security features that you have available to you. And QMS key ID. If I'm going to encrypt, I need to create an encryption key that we use to decrypt when I want to view the state file. So I won't be encrypting because I don't want to add complexity to it. The DynamoDB, that's the ID of the DynamoDB table, basically the name of the DynamoDB that we used. So I'm just going to call this Terraform state log. That's what this was called. And yep. Yeah, this is fine. All right, so I think this is all that I need to do here. Yes, yeah. So I'm going to quickly initialize this. No, I don't think I Terraform init. And we will see that it would state that, I think it's in the initializing the backend. Successful config deploy the backend S3. Terraform automatically uses backend unless the backend configuration, blah, blah, blah. So Terraform is already assuming that, okay, yes, we don't want to store our configuration file, locally. We want to have it stored in an S3 bucket, which we have provided. But we don't, the state file does not get created until we have created resources in our projects. Yeah, so we would also quickly run through that now. We even need, again, I want to structure this. Why are you taking forever? So this main.tf, I'm going to get rid of main.tf so you know that it's not actually, is an entry point when we'll see when it's actually needed. Yeah.
My own is already installed.
Our network, our bandwidth is different. All right, so this is done. So it creates a Terraform TF state file. Again, this is for information to tell you, okay, yes, you are using a backend state. It's not actually using this to map to your your cloud provider now. I just thought that I mentioned this in case you guys come across it. And then it creates it inside of as part of your provider. When we gotten rid of this. Let's see. Yes, for this, we see that the structure is kind of different. This Terraform state file is inside of the main directory and not inside of that's provider block. You can see the difference now that our project directory is taking a different form, just for the fact that, okay, we are setting up to work in as part of a team in a collaborative environment, different from if you are working on, as a single engineer. Yeah, so just want to point that out. Next, can close this. I don't think I'll be needing this backend CF state file again. Okay, so I want to start. Yes, we'll start talking about. I've mentioned that we would talk about variables very, very briefly. I know we have talked about variables before, and variables basically are in Terraform is that they're just a way to set values to kind of make your configuration kind of dynamic. Yeah, so that you can add values. You don't add code values, directly inside of your configuration in case you need to, say, use that, particular resource, or you need to add, have multiple environments. If you need to, again, passing value in a dynamic way, instead of having to add code, all of these things. That's what variables basically use. You can use it to parameterize our deployments, having to, again, when we have to deploy to different environments now, development, staging, or production, can use the same Terraform resource declaration, and we can just slightly, have a configuration that will just, again, use variables to point out, Okay, yes, different environments. I will quickly create a new file again. I'm just going to call this provider. Providers. That's TF. And in here, I'm going to configure AWS provider. What up, guy? Are you sleeping? Can I quickly sign in to GitHub and sign? Why did I sign out? Causing temporary issues. Why? It's like Copilot does not want to function today. That's going to make it's not going to be funny at all. Okay. Voila. So
you just need the construct now.
Yes. So
you need more than the construct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to. I think it's back. Thank you. I don't want to. So I can. Okay. Instead of add coding, so I'm just going to use this as a very basic example for what's how to use. We'll be using it over and over again, but to introduce us to a, I can have again a file, call it variables.tf. Again, the way all of this have been structured is so that we can have all of this that I'm creating inside of one file. But the way it's structured now, if I know I want to effect any change to my backend remote state file or anything, I can, do that in here. And if I need to, have anything to do with any providers and want to add more providers to a configuration, I can do that also in here. Yeah, so that is basically what this is about. So the way I like to do this is, especially if I'm working on multiple files, you can just drag this and put it by the side. You see that there was a gray thing here. So I can have multiple files open side by side. Yeah, so for my provider now, I want variables now. We have three primitive variables that's Terraform is available in Terraform, and these are the usual primitive types, data types, string, numbers, and Boolean values. Those are like the primitive ones. Strings, you have to put them in quotes. Numbers are digits, and then Boolean is a true or value, true or false, value. Yeah, and then we have complex types also. Complex type basically allows us to group multiple values together into a single variable. But how do we declare variables in Terraform? Yeah, we use the variable keyword, variable, and then you name your variable. For this now, I want to create a region. Again, I'm going to allow this guy help me in a way. So you can add a description. All of these are just kind of optional properties now that you can add. So this description, again, just a description, and then the default value is so if you create a variable now and then you reference it inside of your configuration, if you don't have a default value in here, when you try to apply, Terraform will prompt you, okay, yes, I know you have a variable defined. What value do you want to assign to that variable that you defined? That's in a way as kind of, made your configuration file kind of interactive, if you have it that way. Yeah. But for this region, so how do you reference this variable now that has been created? So this is, we can also have a type. So we can have, I have a type also. Again, if you don't explicitly have a type, so whatever value now that you put in there, it will automatically use that type, but it's not usually the best. It's always good to constrain your type, just like we did a constraint to our version. Yeah, you can also constrain your variable to only accept, a certain data type, and I think that's even is best practice actually. Yeah, so for this, do I want to add a default value? If this would not even matter anyways, because this to pick the region from our configuration file. So I want the type, this variable, to be of type string, to only take a string value. Yeah, so okay. Let me just quickly realize that I did not add a environment variable. Is what I'm called this. Right, so how do we reference this variable in our configuration now? We use the var keyword, var dot the name of the variable that you created. Region is what we call this. And then I can have this in here. I mentioned we can actually have our tagging is one feature now that's would, in a way, I'll be texting your VS Code. I don't understand, Balumi.
Should var.region be in quotes? Because if you put it in quotes like that, it's going to see it as a string.
You shouldn't.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, I just, you had the US East 1 region there. Yes. Yes. So, good one. It would have thrown an error. It shouldn't be in quotes because it's not a string. You're referencing,
a variable.
Variable. Yeah. Right. I hope you guys actually understood what Henry just pointed to now. Even from the color coding, that's all right. I was talking about tags. Yeah, so for this particular project that we want to work on now, we can create this. We are projecting that we would have different environments and then different, we want to, in a way, tag. So it's always good to tag your resources, your whatever it sees that Terraform is managing, especially when you know that you'll be working on a complex project. Yeah. So for this, in our provider block, I can have a default tags. Yeah. And then I can have multiple tags inside of this. I can have tags for whatever it is I want. Tags. I don't understand this. They are giving me the and have tags for, say, what projects am I working on? What environment? Because I know that projects would have multiple environments, staging, production, and then what tool am I using? Again, depending on what you want. And I can also have this as variable so that I can dynamically, add these different file. So I will copy this, even though, because then it's going to call this project name. This is a string also, so I'm going to call it, this is going to be project name, the string, and what else, environment. For this automation, because we're using Terraform, so I think it's obvious that it's Terraform, so I can use Terraforming here. And for, I can say environment, spell environment properly. I always like to use all lowercase for, let's call this environment. Description is really, I can't spell today. Environment.
Could you please drag this to the other side?
What to what other side? Okay.
So like the way you're typing it, we're not seeing the AI just like that.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Nice.
So that's why I said you should press Alt Z so that you don't need to be dragging it. It wraps everything up. You see it. You don't need to minimize.
I have two multiple files open now. So if I collapse everything, it will only show one of the files. I'm trying to open the two files.
That's not what I mean. But go on. It's not important.
Right, so strings. Yeah, so I can come here and then do my var dot project name. Project name, and also var dot environment. So how do we now?
Is it case sensitive?
You mean the
so like if you do var dots and you do environment in uppercase like that, something like that, is it case sensitive?
Yes, it is case sensitive. So if you do an E here and you try to immediately, you see that it's saying there's no declaration for this found. That's why I mentioned that I usually you pick a convention you want to use in naming your variables. We have different conventions. We have camel case. You can choose to use underscore to separate yeah. So if you were camel case, the first letter will be small, and then you can use this. We'll be using the underscore to separate sentences or words.
But you're not providing the default values. Is it fine?
I didn't get that.
I said you're not providing default value for all these names.
Yes. So yes, I didn't add default values so that I can. So if I add default values and I run Terraform apply, it would automatically use. I mentioned the default value. By the time you run it, it would just use that default value in case you don't pass.
Okay. You want us to put in the dynamically values,
so
right?
the goal is so that we have we don't add code anything. So if we add, we will be pushing this now to our Git repository. So so these are not sensitive data in any way, but you start building on this thing, so you don't just add default values anyhow.
So in what scenario is this applicable? Because this is like an infrastructure that you have. I mean, you expect that. Fine, I understand that you're trying to teach us how to add code, but this is Terraform, and you have an automation in place to perform some particular actions. And okay, on the script or on the code, you would have made, if you need to make some changes, you would have made some changes to it and all that. But if you are not add coding and you personally, and you have set it to automate to perform some actions, and you now have to be the one to now be inputting those data one by one. Do you think it's applicable? I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
This is just describer used to like describe the like give you like a way to like characterize the project we are going to be doing, so that whenever we are putting in those main attribute of the real project itself, so we can just be putting it in without having to like start this if the name correspond with the one in the variables or in the providers .tf. I don't know if that's what I don't know if that's what
I didn't get Balumi. First and foremost, I couldn't even hear clearly. So Balumi, do you want to take that?
No, let me understand what he's saying. Let me explain. Maybe let me throw more light on it. What he's saying is that if you have a project that has a specific names already on it, for instance, now we're already going to deploy in the US East 1.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you now run the code now, you have to be putting it manually by yourself. You have that to say. Why not
Okay.
leave it so the US East 1 here, put it 10 here, that
so there are different ways you can actually, add values to your variables now that you've declared. Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Yeah, so there are different ways now. You can have, when you run your Terraform apply, where you can add a variable flag and start adding all of the different variables that you have one after the other. But that's, again, would be a lot of work, especially when you have quite a number of variables. But we can also have a file, and a file that would contain all of our variable files. Yeah. Well, all of the values now that we want to pass to our variables. And that is actually the next step. And this would be, okay, let me just create that file so it will make more sense. It would be, usually there's a convention you use in naming this. We call them terraform.avars. So this file, immediately I created it. I don't know if you guys see that is kind of different from the rest of the other files now that was created. Is kind of grayed out. Yeah. So what this means is that it's not, if I change anything to add anything to this, I can see that there's a change in here, but it's not having this hue that is not being tracked basically by Git. Yeah, and this is because if we come to our Git ignore, I mentioned when we were creating our repository yesterday that when we enabled Terraform to create a template Git ignore for Terraform for us, this would contain all of the different files now or extensions now that Terraform or considers. Yes, you don't want Git to track it for you, and so the TF vars file is one of those files. You can see that any file now that has the .tf vars file extension, that has with a JSON one that you want to put, and even your TF states, your Terraform state file also, if you have that as part of your configuration, it will not be pushed to your Git repository. And this is because, again, you will be having values that you don't want, exposed. You don't want to push those values to sensitive information to your remote repository, even if your organization, if your repository is, private, you still don't want to, because again, it's the remote repository is still a public kind of tool now. Yeah, it's been managed by third parties, and so you don't want to just put out your organization's secrets, especially when we start managing all of the variables we have created now. There are still values that they're not sensitive information if you have it. But again, this file basically allows you pass value to all of these variables that you have created. So how do we pass values to this? all you do is, okay, just quickly going to do this. Olumi, I hope, does this respond to your question?
Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, thanks. Oh, sorry, Olumi.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it answers my question. Thank you. Thank you, Alphonse.
So here we can pass our region, whatever region we want to use. It's basically whatever you call your variable also is what you're going to have to, use as a key in here. So I'm just going to call this mobile as the project's name. And then our environment is dev. So this is good. I think we have created a number of files now that we can push to GitHub. So I'm going to open my terminal and
so basically the TF vars is used in place of the actual variables.tf, right?
Not in place. So your variables.tf is where you define your variables now. And then those variables now that you defined, you want to pass values to them. So your TF vars file is what you use in passing values to that variable. Wherever it is, all that variable, the values that you pass, in that TF vars file would be replaced inside of your configuration of your main configuration file.
Okay, so your main configuration file is looking at the variables file. The variables file is looking at the TF vars file.
Exactly. Yes, that's the mapping. Yeah. I know this is adding some kind of complexity. Is anybody lost in here now? Everybody's with us. All right, cool. Taiwo. Okay, I know Taiwo still
not fully, but I just don't
watch the video.
Yeah. I don't want to complicate it, so I just want to possibly go through it again, then come back with my questions next week.
Okay. By the time we do more examples, I think this would, it'll all come together. So I want to, do I need to apply this? I've not created any resource per se, but let's just do a Terraform. We only initialized earlier, so I'm just going to do a Terraform apply auto proof, because I want to push to GitHub now and want to be sure that whatever it is. So we see here now that it's saying acquiring state lock. This is that DynamoDB table that we created that is actually locking our state file, so that if Illumina wants to also apply, it would probably fail on its end, or it would just like silently just wait until my own changes are being made before any other changes being made to it. Why are you taking forever? You've not created any resource.
It has created 12 resources for me.
12 resources?
Added, yes. Okay. Added 12, 0 change, 0 destroyed.
Okay. It's not supposed to create any resource though, because we didn't actually.
No, yeah, I think I created all this in the wrong.
Okay. You have relaunched the lamp thing, yeah?
Yeah. I have to go and I closed that, Oh, man. Let me go back and destroy all those things.
All right, so I'm going to quickly push this to GitHub. If I do a git status, yeah, I see that all of the files, we had a main.tf file earlier, but we've deleted that. So all of the changes now that we've made, we have a new file, all of these files that we created. So I can, instead of doing now, it's going to be a git add. I can start adding all of these files, but that's going to, we have the option to add all of the files once and for all. So I do a git add and a dot. This will add all of the files. If I do a git status again, remember the steps now. It goes from our working directory to the staging area. That's what we did with our git add. That's why I'm saying now, I'm aware of these files, and you can now stage them or commit them rather to your local repository, and then we do that using the git commits, and it's always advisable that you add a commit message. I can just say created new files or created backend. Again, it's always good to be descriptive in this. I have a developer that is so good at commit messages. Good. These messages are, you would know exactly what it did by just reading, his commits, his messages. And
I think it's a skill that someone needs to start learning at the learning stage now, so that you get used to it.
Message. Created back end, not back send.
Oh, back end. Thank you. I don't know. My typing has been off today. I think I've been brain freeze. Not since I'm not make it too much sense, but we'll get through this class. Yeah. Create a backend and other files. I think this is very, very ambiguous, but the more you do these things, the better you get at it. So git commit, and it tells you all of the things that it has done, and then we can do the git push to now push it to our remote repository. If you have different branches now, usually you would have different branches, obviously, for different environments, and you have a default branch. So usually it's the default branch that gets pulled. Now we only have one branch. If I do a git branch now, I see that we only have the main branch, in here from our repository. We can create multiple branches also, from what's the GitHub, and even have, again, all of this you would learn. So I'm just going to do a git push. And this will push to a remote repository. I don't have any passphrase set, so that would push. And we check our remote repository. Where is that? Okay. So we see that we have all of this, created backend and everything that we have created. Yeah, so I will propose a 10 minutes break, and then when we get back, we'll continue. Yeah, so anybody that has any question, when we get back, you can ask your question. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes.
Okay, thanks, sir.
All right, guys.
Moyo, I need to be on stock, please.
Oh, okay. Where did get blocked?
So I'm doing a git push, and let me see what it's saying.
Okay, you can share your screen. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. Let me know when you see it, please.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. So I did a git push, and it's saying everything is up to date. However, when I go to my GitHub, my remote repository, I'm not seeing it there.
Have you done git add, git commit, and all of those things.
Let me see. Git.
I see
Well, the
that
files are already there. Do I need
you have untracked files. So if you do a git status, do a git status. So you see, you've not added all of these files. So you need to do a git add and a space dot to add all of the files. Yeah, to add all of those.
Okay. Git add space dot. Let me make sure I'm taking a note of that.
And then git commit. It's your commit message.
The status I check as well to be green.
Yes, if you do git status again, you see that all of those files have been added.
Yeah, I mean it says it right there that it's been.
Yes, so you see that.
Okay,
yeah.
so git what?
Git commit. Put message in my No, not finished yet.
Calm down. You need to add a message to it. So you can type your message. So just type whatever it is that you want to add as a message in there, then save it.
Do insert. Committing.
Added new files.
Files from today's session 9/22.
We are still going to push some other things. So even though really I'm not feeling up to the task now. I thought it was Hunger that was doing me eating and still feeling very
so git commit and what?
Yes, that's that. No, that's it. So if you do a git commit without adding a flag M, you're supposed to add flag M and then you put your commit message. But when you do a git commit, that's why it opened up that terminal for you to add a message. Yeah. So after that, now do a good git push now that you push to push.
Okay, so it's git add,
git commit, and git push. So git commit.
Git commit will do what?
/m flag M. No space. No. This is flag M. Yes, and then your commit message in single quotes. Whatever it is, everything you added in that same thing in single quotes.
Single
quotes is better. Message, yeah.
And then git
push. That's the workflow.
Okay.
You've done that push. Okay. You have a pass.
Yeah.
Your freeze.
So, yeah, should be there.
Okay.
2 minutes ago.
Cool.
2 minutes ago. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Let me stop sharing. Where's my...
Angela asked a question before we went on that break. I was just saying it, Randy. So Angela, we don't actually have two CF variable files. We have one variable file. This is where we declare, or create variables, but declare is actually the right word, and we need to start, using the right terminologies. So for when we find ourselves talking to other stakeholders, yeah. So we declare the variable. So the variable keyword is what we use in declaring the variable, and you give your variable a name. And this is the only variable file we have. After declaring your variable, now you need to, the essence of in this variable is so that you can use it inside of your main configuration file. Our configuration file that we're using our variables in, our variable that we have declared now is this providers variable. And we have these properties now, project properties that we could have easily just hard coded the name of the project. say Moban now, if I'd gone ahead and done Moban here, I won't be needing this variable file again. Yeah, but now we want to make this dynamic, and that's why we created this, variable, this variable, and then we're trying to, put all of our separate the different sections of this particular project now. So we have these variables file, yeah, and whatever it is, we want to make this variable now, so we can, decide, okay, tomorrow now I want to, yeah, change the name of the project, but I don't want to do it directly from inside this configuration file. That's why we have this CFVAS file, which, whatever it is that we declared here, we'll be pulling from and then using it inside of this. So the Moban that we added in here now, if we want to have it passed inside of this variable, this user variable now, calling the variable, that's why you have the var keyword, var dot the name of that variable that we defined inside of this. So it's just it's just the mapping now. This variable file. So this our main provider or configuration file. When it sees a var dot the name of the variable, it would look for where this variable name is defined. It will come to this variable file, and then this variable file in turn would now say, okay, yes, this particular name, I'm trying to, this is calling it, or where has this been defined, the value that should be passed to this variable call now, and it comes to look inside of this TFVAS file, and it sees this definition or this in here, and then it takes this value, this string value, and then it passes it into this. But we will see some other, examples of doing this, because now we want to now jump into, now this is just us kind of setting the stage for the project that we want to do. And I mentioned here that the project that we are working on was the project that we worked on. Don't know if you guys remember this project that we did, our final, I think, not the final project, for projects in the AWS, where so it's an e-commerce application, yeah, dynamic, highly available e-commerce application. So this is what we want to kind of work on now. Hopefully the few minutes we have, we're able to complete it, because I've taken some steps to make sure that we actually try to finish it. But even if we don't, again, the way this is structured is that we can easily destroy and then recreate whatever it is that we begin. Yeah, I hope you guys remember this project. So for those that have been work on this project during the cloud session, you're going to have issues, because we'll be using both the snapshot from the database and also the AMI that we created from this particular project. Yeah.
I deleted it. I deleted all those AMIs and all those things. Yeah, I did. I deleted them, but that's fine. I mean,
so I actually had this issue exactly. Not that I deleted mine. I wanted to. Yeah, I think I actually deleted it truly. So I just rescheduled that class, and the next I did it in less than 30 minutes, because I wasn't. So it would be a good practice, anyways. But we won't need any of those until the end of, I think, when we're creating the RDS and then the instance. Actually, for the first few parts, we won't be needing all of those. All right, so we won't be needing our providers or our backend again. So I'm just going to, you want to again clean up. We still be needing our variables, and so I don't need this anymore. So first and foremost, I want to create VPC, all of our VPC components now. So I will be calling this VPC.tf. Like I said, I have gone ahead. No. We're not using EFS already. Is that's range zone project that we worked on. Yeah. So I have, like I said, I have all of those configuration that will be needed. I have, in a way, created all of those. Again, I'll share all of these files with you guys, and all of these were, gotten from the documentation, and kind of puts your search query. So if you take this Terraform, AWS creates, and you see all of this, part of the comment for each of the different resource now. If you want to see where all of this were gotten from, all you need to do is copy this and paste in your browser, and then you're going to see, well, not, well, to take you to the documentation where all of the different resources, are in. So goal here is we, again, will be using variables for most of this, most of them. Yeah. So for our VPC, we'll start from the top. We know we want to create a variable for VPC. So let me quickly drag this to the side. Go. It does not want to stay. Actually, want my variables to be on this other side. Variables, you stay here. So what am I doing? I really do not know what I'm doing. Okay, so let's do this. I can get through this. So I'm just going to do a VPC variable. But I want to create a variable for VPC cider. Okay, so my guy is going to make life easy for me. Cider block for VPC string. Again, I really do not like using default values. So I'm just going to come here and do it var values var VPC cider and instance tenancy. I think this is going to be a default value. Enable DNS host name, true. And for tags, we'll be using a construct that we would be tagging multiple. So we want to tag each of you see that each of the resource here is being tagged. The way we're going to reference our tag is, again, it's going to be, we want to concatenate multiple, join multiple variables together, and it has a, to join variables together, you use, oh, this guy has done this for me. Thank you. I'm just going to show you it though. Let me collapse this so we see it. So it's just adding our var dot variable name inside of curly brackets and appending a $sign to it. So this is basically telling the Terraform engine that, okay, I want to add these two variables. There are two variables now. This is one variable. Add them together while delimiting it with, an hyphen, and also appending this hyphen VPC to it. So inside of this string, for this now, you see that I'm putting it in double quotes because this is supposed to be a string, but albeit inside of that string, I'm adding a variable inside, and that is what this dollar and this is actually doing. Yeah, because if we want to do like we did in here now, and this would just take that variable directly. We can't come here if we try to do this and then add, say, another string to it. It's going to throw an error because, again, if it's a string, you need to put it in quotes. Yeah, and that is why, this was done like this. basically. That's just the construct anyway, because you're trying to again add a string inside of a variable rather inside of a string. So you need to explicitly add this construct to it. I hope this makes sense, guys. Because we'll be using it over and over again. And I'm tagging all of this. I'm using the project name and the environment name and appending the name of the VPC or of the, whatever resource now to it. Yeah, again, so that all of the different resource for this particular project and environment is in one place. Can I go ahead? Don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. I guess I'm trying to figure out. So what we're doing here is we're trying to replicate that same project using Terraform.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Mm.
So what do we need the AMIs for and everything?
When we created our project, we had to first do a setup server, pull in our code base and all of those things, yeah. So because obviously we don't want to do all of we can't actually do all of that inside our Terraform code. So we will be leveraging on an existing kind of setup already. So it's what we're doing is using that AMI that already contains, our source code and all of the configuration that we've done, and also taking the database that already contains, all of that dummy data, and then put everything together. All right. So for our
it would have been nice, maybe just maybe take time anyway, I don't know, to just do everything afresh here. I don't know.
You do everything afresh here.
But that is
make sense to for us to easily get to understand, but I feel that might take time.
It would. So if we take that route, it means we would be redoing some of the things. We would first have to we'll create the instances and then connect to it. Okay, maybe we'll bootstrap some of those things, but for the database one, I do about maybe I don't know of a Terraform configuration that would allow us take our SQL dump now and then run it against our database that we just created. So what this is doing is, I think when you are just starting out a new project, say fresh project now, you say, okay, yes, in an organization, what you will be using Terraform to do is mostly, again, to maybe provision the fresh infrastructure. And then with time, all of the source code, if you have maybe a CI/CD pipeline now that developers will be pushing to regularly until the application is, in that initial state now where, okay, yes, can be showcased, can be demoed now. And all of those, you'll not be using your IAC tool to do all of those. You must have set up some other, tools that would enable the source code to be pushed regularly to whatever environment that you have originally set up. So we are boycotting all of that for now. Yeah, we already have our source code. albeit we have it in if we are choosing another project, say maybe we want to pull from an S3 bucket, we still need to take our source code and push it to that source S3 bucket or wherever. Yeah, that's that for it.
Sorry, sir. I want to find out something just to confirm. The AMI now is just like the Docker image that will be pulled from Docker over, right? Application wrap in Docker image that will be pulled.
Yes. Yes. So you can liken it to your Docker image. Yeah. If we say we wanted to pull, yes, you can. It's likened to, because your Docker is a lightweight, environment that contains, your runtime and your source code.
Okay.
Also the same thing with your AMI also. Just that the AMI you use in creating virtual machines, and then you use your image to create containers, basically. Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. Thanks, sir.
If you guys say we should not continue this, no problem. Let's look for another project to work on. One that is more, not lie. We'll continue. We'll finish this.
Okay.
So internet gateway would be using our VPC ID. Again, I would be, VPC is AWS VPC. Why is this just called VPC though? Yeah, it's just the name. We only have one VPC in here anyways. And then this is going to, I'm just going to complete it for me, please. I want to add project and then internet gateway. Yes. Internet gateway for availability zone. Sorry, our public subnet. Okay, so I'm going to use data to pull subnet our availability zone now. So I'm just going to do data here. Data, AWS zone, availability. This is called this label zones. And this will pull in all of the availability zone that we have in whatever region now that we are using in. So I can now come in here and then specify my VPC AWS. And that's called VPC ID. I'm going to quickly create a variable for my CIDR block. This is not complete. Something missing here. CIDR, easy one. CIDR. Oh, thank you. Making life easy for me. This name, okay. Var CIDR is U1. Public subnet, U1 CIDR. I don't trust that thing now. So for my data, so I'm just going to that data dot availability zone dot is it names now. It's names, I think. So need a larger screen. Okay. Dot names. Dot name. Yes, that's name. But I want to reference is an array. This will return an array. So this for availability zones, this will return an array of availability zones. And in programming, computer science generally now, arrays are zero indexed, indexed from 0. So if it returns US East 1A, US East 2A, US East 2B, US East 3C as an array, if you need to reference a different availability zone now, you start, this is the name now, the name that it returns, that this name value from this particular data source now is an array. So the US East, instead of coding US East 1 to A now, I'm referencing the first value of this name property of this data. Yeah, so using 0 in here for this public subnet AZ1. And then for my map on launch, I hope this makes sense. Why is this not? Let me see if I can make this full screen so I can show all of this properly. To map public IP address on launch. True. And then for this, just what am I doing here? Wow, project public AZ1. That's fine. For my public AZ2, this can actually, I can complete this VPC, I will rest. Public subnet AZ2, AWS underscore VPC ID, cider block for this. Let's create a variable for this. Variable for AZ2 cider. Need to reference this in here. Var public. I think I have fetched, so it will give me suggestions so that I don't make a mistake. Just copy and paste this in here. Availability zone. I'm going to do a data availability zone dot name to be this is my public subnet, and I want my regions to be where is US is 1A and US is 1B I'm using. So for this second public subnet, according to architecture, can't find that architecture now. Yeah, supposed to be in the 2 different ability zones anyway. I love this. This will be public subnet AZ2. I'm creating a route table. Route table. And the VPC ID is AWS dot VPC ID route. Cider block for this. I think I can accrue this because the wildcard one. It's not 0. Gateway ID. About gateway, so we'll be interpolating this AWS internet gateway ID. Thank you. And for this tag, let's call this public routes table. It's fine. Gateway association. Subnet ID. So be our subnet first subnet ID. So AWS underscore subnet. Why is this Copilot sluggish today? Oh boy. Seriously. What's this? AWS is supposed to be AWS underscore subnet. Public subnet AZ1 IDS. Then the route table. AWS underscore route table. Route public. It's public route table ID also. And I will associate the second subnet also. It's just going to be AWS underscore net Not public. This guy is not giving me what I need. Public subnet easy too is what I want in here. It's going to use the same route table. And private app subnet. Yes, underscore VPC. Side up block for this. Let's create a private app subnet side. So I'm going to reference this in here. Wow. Private app subnet side. Availability zone. This would be in the first availability zone. So it's data. It is on 0. App public IP on launch. That will be false because it's a private zone. Let's call this private app subnet easy1 and private app subnet easy2. This would be subnet VPC ID side up block for this. Let's create a variable for this. Call it variable app subnet easy2 side up block should be var. Just why you not referencing my variables? You're creating it, but you're not giving me. Line on the I can frustrate you. Let it zone data to be in line 1. Yep. False. And tag this with my private app subnet easy1. Easy2 rather. Easy2. This is private app subnet easy2. Looking good so far. I have a few more to go. I hope I know I'm doing magic now, but it's something we are all familiar with. I'm just building on VPC ID.
I know you mentioned something about the use of data for the availability of sometime our last class. Why using data? Because it's known, right?
Yes. So you know when we use this data block to fetch
already existed, already known. Yeah.
AMIs.
Yeah.
Now we are using it to fetch the availability zones that we have inside of whatever region now that we're having. And then we're now referencing it using the name of that, of whatever availability zone we're fetching, you know, and whether US East 1A or US East 1B, whatever it is that we're having. But we're using this array index now to pull the different names now.
Yeah.
And private data subnet, okay. So let's have a variable for our private data subnet easy1 side. Yes, for some reason it's referencing this. So I'm just going to copy this. And from our side, I'll do a var dot and the availability zone choosing subnet easy1. Nope. This data. And then 0. This will be false. This will be private data subnet. It's fine. And finally, we have our AWS underscore. PC ID. Let's create our last variable. Private data subnet easy2. Side out for this will now be, let's copy this. Var dot ability zone will be data easy.
What is live? What are you looking at?
False.
What is live? What is it?
Easy 2. So I think, yeah, I have everything that I need in here for my VPC resource.
I would done for not get.
So I will be creating a separate because this is already getting into 130 lines of code. So
it's more.
I'd like to break it down to another.
I discovered that all the sections, this network is longer.
I didn't get that.
As of all the sections of these applications, the network is longer than any other one. The app is shorter,
you have
and the database is shorter as well too.
The
network is long, very, very, very long.
Yes, you have plenty components now. You're trying to
together, yeah.
Do separate, make it highly available by creating multiple availability zone and then breaking down, putting different subnets inside of those availability zones. So for our chosen, yes, usually for architectures, especially when you start, designing for high availability, you'd have more networking components, even more than the actual services you put in there. And then, for each of them, you have to define the route table, the associations, and, put all of those together. I don't even think, wait, private. Okay, we've not even done the private. Okay, well, I'll put that inside of the NAT gateway for private route table. Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is good for now. Let me see. I didn't even check. There's 3 buckets. I don't expect that I would see anything inside of this just yet because we've not. Okay, so we have our mobile app. So we have our TF file states, our state file already in here. That's good.
The content will be much.
Yes, because we have not actually created any resource. Yes, yeah. Makes sense. Okay. So we have created quite a number of VPC variables. Now we have to, and then there are no so what I like to do is, for this, I will, again, let's call VPC variables. And then for each of those variables, VPC CIDR, VPC CIDR is 10.0, 0/16. Next is our public subnet. CIDR is 1 CIDR. Usually, you always want to, be sure that this name actually corresponds. But I'm going to let my friend here undo all of that naming for me, because it's one that actually created the name. So 94. Next is our public CIDR is 2. This will be 10.0.1. The 0/24. Public app subnet easy1 10.0.2.0/24. And private app subnet easy2 CIDR 10.0.3.0/24. Private data subnet easy. This will be 10.0.4.0/24. And finally, private data subnet easy will be 10.0.5.0/24. And so, yeah, so I can.
We're saying that the data type is string, but we're using numbers here. It's because of the quotes make it string.
Yes. So yes, when you put once it's in quotes, it's kind of cast it to be, because if you say it's a number, this your slash, it's not a number. So that's why you.
And even the dot, you can have multiple dots in number,
yes,
right?
Yeah. So once it's programming 101. You always, so there are I think HashiCorp is even is lenient, if we are coming to Java based languages, the way it handles data type is quite different from some other languages like TypeScript. That's loosely, again, let's not go into programming. So I want to see, hopefully I don't have any error in all of this that I've done. Why do I have all of this open? What do I want to do? I've written all of this penalty configuration. So I know, let me do a Terraform format first. Yeah. So there's an error somewhere. Line 44 of my VPC. Okay, public subnet is true. It should be true. All right, thank you for pointing that out to me. So I have this, I can validate if I want to. All right, so, oh, is it names? Voila. So I've used name everywhere. Supposed to be names, yeah, because it's actually returning an array of names. Where else do I reference this? Names. I'll just use a try and find that has no nested. Yeah, actually meant names. Validate again. What is it again? Because it's my undeclared resource 954 public route table. So this is actually very, very valid. AWS VPC ID. What do you mean it's? Oh.
You don't visit twice, yeah.
I wanted to comment on that, but I felt maybe you knew what you were doing.
I did not know what I am doing. No, hey, please always help me out too. Yeah, underscore. Is that underscore that cause voila there now? I'm not sure I typed it myself. Again, I even made it through to the end. All right, so I can go ahead and say I want to now apply this Terraform apply to no, you're a great man. Oh boy. Can you Treating database account What do you mean? I have done this now.
No, it's that thing we didn't do that for first time. Remember, I terraform something, need to put that in there. Maybe it's not there yet.
Okay. Wait.
That provides for that time. Remember, at the beginning, as you started.
This is it now. Is there something I'm missing?
Yes, go to the registry and that only we put that time. We were asking error some time ago. Remember, when we started this thing. We now go and copy something from the registry and
the Terraform block.
Yeah.
I think the Terraform block.
Yeah.
But yes. Okay. So I think I can actually, instead of that, I can use the profile, my profile option here, and then use the default profile. Let me just see. I hope this will work, because it's not, that block is really not necessary. So I know I have a default AWS profile. Maybe there's another profile that it is trying to conflict with this. So let me try this and see if this will work. And if not, we'd need to add that block. I remember truly in our previous project, but see if this will work. Okay. This actually works. That fixes it. And this is peculiar to my machine now. Maybe in my Terraform, my AWS configuration, I probably have some, I've mixed up some profiles, looking for multiple organizations can actually make you mix things up. So this should have worked. And
so if you put profile code default in our case, will it work as well?
Yes. So by the default profile, if you don't, when you run your Terraform, your AWS configure command now, if you don't, you add the profile flag to it, and then you name it. So say when I run AWS configure, and I think, yes, you can add the profile flag. So you can call this whatever. You can call this, say, if you call this mobile. Yeah, so this will create a profile named mobile. So it's that profile that you add. But if you just run a Terraform configure, it's going to name that profile. It's going to be the default profile. Yeah. So we have 11 added, 0 changes. Okay. Yeah, I'm very, very sure all of this will actually run. So let me push this to my remote repository now. All right, so I'm not going to type all of those plenty things. I want to just use my source control option here. I'm going to add a commit message, created VPC components. Yeah, or some VPC components. Networking components. Yes, always no. So I'm just going to sync this to my remote repository. That's my git push. And that is done. You can see all of the different commits that you have. We have the initial commits. This was created yesterday, created new file, and we did this today when we created the backend and others. And then this is the most recent change. Yeah. So you still have all of this. You can even see this is your graph, kind of. If you want to see the commit also, you can visualize it. You have all of these tools available to you, again, to make life easy for you. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Next, I want to create, should we go ahead and, yes, let's create a NAT gateway. Now, so we would have NAT gateway.tf. If I can still, everything I have here now not cost me. If I create a NAT gateway, can we call it a day today, guys? And we'll continue from this place. Hopefully, you guys would have, for those that would want to complete this, I've worked on the original project.
Yeah, if you just send me the vpc.tf file.
Okay.
I need that one.
Okay.
Let me make sure it works on my end.
It will work. It will work.
Send all of us. Send to the
in the group, yeah.
Okay.
Just
okay.
the chat, yeah. So I can copy it.
I'll package all of the different files and share. Yes. Okay. Yes. I'll share it on the group. Discord. That is.
You're on the Discord group or Discord or the chat?
It's on Discord. I'm not.
I always prefer if you do it here in class, because Discord now I have to download it on my phone. I don't have Discord on my computer, so it has to be on my phone. So it's a long thing. But no problem. Whatever way is convenient for you, you can do it.
Let me share it here so that I think most of you guys are already in the WhatsApp group. So I will share. Just give me a minute. What's it called again?
Career.
Or if you want to push it to your GitHub and make us contributors, we can download it from there too. Yeah, we can also get that. That's another way to get it. If you put it in your GitHub, and we can just maybe not clone but download it, the raw file.
It's not even allowing me share. Seems Zoom self voila. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Fine.
What a day.
I swear down, I literally Zoom is not allowing me to share anything. Why can't I share file now? So
once you get on Discord for us, you can copy it and change.
Yeah. So if once I share it on Discord, somebody can maybe help you do it. I've pushed the code to GitHub. Balloon. What we've done thus far is already on GitHub, but not the empty configuration, anyways. And I think it's better you actually use the empty configuration and work on it, so that you can also experience that plenty back and forth. Because if you just come and fuck whatever it is that I have in here, you not have that feel of, and for most of you that don't even have Copilot to help you do all those autocompletes, to make more sense to actually work on this. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. I know I don't know, right from the beginning of this class, I've been having this banging headache, but I thought during the break, maybe it was food that was hungry me, and I ate, and in fact, it kind of increased. So I don't know if you noticed, that was not really, all my typing was just everywhere. Even I know my explanation of some things too was not very, very cognitive like that. But
you should go drink water. Go drink a lot of water and try to get some sleep. Yeah, that would help.
So, Coach Moy, I want to say something now. So what it means that we need to go and get that AMI for to complete this project now, for this therapy.
Yes. So you have the week to work on that project again.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But for most of the things we do before we actually need that, you can also still be working on those. But it's only VPC we've touched on now. So, but we'll complete it in the next session. Anyways.
So after that gateway, now we'll now go to application .tf, have we? That gateway.tf, then application.tf, then database.tf, right?
Well, yes, you can structure this however you want, but yeah, I'll be naming them different things. Yes, I would have security group separately, have NAT gateway, load balancer. We have load balancer, ESG.
Okay,
We still have quite a number of .tf files that I'll be using. So the beauty is that, again, if we are able to see how all of these different .tf files, how we can use all of this and still have just one configuration when we now move to modules, it will be smoother, to understand modules if we can understand this, that all of these files, even though they are separated, they are still working as one.
One, yeah.
Because they are inside of the same directory, but in modules we'll have separate directories, and then we'll still have those different directories still reference and call each other. So all right, guys, don't let me continue talking. Have a lovely week.
I was on the Discord, right?
Yes, I'll share the file on Discord. So for those that have Discord on their PC, you can please share it on your WhatsApp group so that Eric can have it on his WhatsApp.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. All right, I don't know if Angela on this call still. Oh, it's gone. All right, no problem.